Hello, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America, featuring today's top directors sharing behind-the-scenes stories of the latest films and insights into the craft of directing. Please take a second to subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. This episode takes us behind the scenes of director Melina Matsoukas' new drama, Queen and Slim. The film follows the eponymous couple, whose first date takes an unexpected turn when they are pulled over for a minor traffic violation. After the situation escalates and Slim shoots the police officer in self-defense, the couple become unwitting outlaws and a viral symbol of trauma, terror, and pain for people all over the country. Queen and Slim is Ms. Matsoukas' feature directorial debut. Her other directorial credits include the pilot for the television series Why the Last Man, and episodes of the series Insecure, American Crime Story Katrina, and Master of None. She was nominated for the DGA Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Comedy Series in 2017 for her Master of None episode, Thanksgiving. Following a recent screening of the film at the DGA Theater in New York, Ms. Matsoukas spoke with director M. Night Shyamalan about filming Queen and Slim. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
Some two tough last names she had to say there.
Because yours is really easy.
No, both of our last names is what I say. Wow, this is so fun. So first of all, I have to say, this is super out of character for me to do. So I was at dinner, I was having dinner with my kids, and then I came here. And I did that because I was so moved by your movie. I saw it a couple weeks ago. And I didn't know anything about you, actually. So I was in Italy, and the person that I was with said, I saw this movie. I guess you must saw it in something.
They're just leaking my movie.
And they said, you have to see this movie. And the way she said it, the look in her eyes. And so I said, please get this movie for me. It was at Universal. We're both at Universal. And
wow, yeah. That means so much. And for you to be here and to take this time out, like, I can't express how appreciative I am of that.
Oh, I have so many. I have a zillion questions that I'm going to ask you guys to ask some questions as well. But, you know, for me, how I judge a director is by their control of tone. So it can be any tone. It can be hyper. It can be this, whatever. But it has to be consistent. And when I saw it, because I didn't know anything about you, I was hit by your control of your style, which was grounded and buoyant, and your use of music, and I just couldn't understand it because normally the use of music and the use of montage is a weakness. It's kind of done when things aren't working, but that wasn't the case in here. So I mean, and now I've learned about you and stuff, but I'd love to hear how you came from. I guess your music was Please tell me how you got there to this place.
I came from music videos. I went to NYU, and and then I went straight to grad school to AFI, and I studied directing at NYU. And because I didn't want to repeat my same studies, I went to AFI for cinematography. Not that I ever wanted to shoot, but as a director, I really wanted to be informed about my craft and be able to know my choices. And as a Black woman, to really hone my craft and be able to communicate with my crew from a really educated standpoint. And I grew up an MTV baby, and I loved music videos, and I loved how experimental and stylistic you could be in that medium. And so I always wanted to start out in music videos. Both of my thesis films out of film school were videos for my friend. My brother's here, and he was in one of them. And so I graduated, and I had PA'd in videos and commercials, and I started directing them pretty immediately out of film school. Like, my third and fourth videos were Beyonce videos, and then my music video career kind of took off. But that didn't translate. It didn't translate. I think there's a real stigma to music video directors, especially music video directors of color that aren't, the Finchers and the Romanicks and those. And people really question my ability to direct dialogue and performances, so I really had to work at that, and I had to prove myself, and I did. And I really remember taking taking a moment in my music video career to do more narrative videos and to prove that I could tell a story and prove that these are somewhat of short films, set to music. And from there, I had been sent a lot of scripts, but because I was pretty successful in that space, I wasn't in a rush to do anything until I was completely passionate about a project. Like, I always use my passion for a project to determine what I work on next. And I got the script for Insecure, which is a series on HBO by Issa Rae. And I never thought I would be a comedy director, but that was my first piece. I saw myself reflected in that script and her life in many ways, and knew that I could really develop that and bring it to the screen and give it life. And so I started in TV on Insecure. For the last 4 years, I've been directing and EPing that show. And then from there, I directed a couple episodes of Master of None, and I met Lena Waithe, who wrote this script. And she entrusted me. We did an episode called Thanksgiving, and she is a Black lesbian woman, and it was her story of coming out to her family. And I knew how important that was. And, I have, I like to tell stories that are unique, that are political, that have something to say, but also entertaining. Like, I feel like that's, the value of who I am as a person and how I like my art to translate. And I, did that episode. She won an Emmy for it, for the writing. And while I was directing that and that came out, she was writing Queen and Slim. And so she said, I have the script and you have to direct it. And I kind of told her no at the time because I just don't like my relationships to determine the projects I work on. And I said, when you're done, send it to me. And she did. And I loved every word. I felt like it was everything I was looking for in the first feature. It was political. It had something to say. It was creating change. It was challenging the status quo. And it was just a beautiful love story, with these characters that I hadn't seen so nuanced. And when you talk about tone and you talk about, like, mediums, it doesn't really live in one genre, which I really enjoy, right? Like, we have this immense use of comedy at times, and it's obviously really dramatic and starts off as somewhat of a rom-com and then turns into, a horror film in many ways. And I really like that it straddled and blurred all these lines of genre, and it felt perfect for me, not only as an artist, but as a human. And so we're here.
Wow, man, 7 questions that came up there. Well, first of all, I was going to mention the use of humor. First of all, I forgot to some extent, and maybe this is not what you intended, but I forgot the color of the cast. I just they were me.
Yeah, I wanted to create empathy, and I wanted you to really see, I think we all see a part of ourselves reflected in these characters. I love that you don't know their names until the end, because they're kind of supposed to represent all of us, and I think that if we do see ourselves in these people, like, we will create empathy, to fight against some of the issues that we're talking about, but just also to understand it as a beautiful love story that's very much a human story.
I told my wife about this, and so how I trick my wife to watch anything is I say it's a love story. So no matter what it is, it's a love story. So then this one, she's like, "What is it?" I was like, "It's really a love story." She doesn't believe me because I've tricked her in so many different ways.
So she didn't watch it, or she did?
She hasn't wait. Yeah,
okay.
I was gonna actually have her come now. So I do think that was prominent architecture was I was held by their love, and what an unusual kind of first date, then they don't like each other, and then that kind of that movement, that architecture of they're stuck together, and then beauty comes, and it was very sensual, and I often find sensuality used and it stops the narrative in a way that's uncomfortable and done for salacious reasons and not actually from the character, and I found everything had an integrity to it. I didn't even know you. I didn't know if you were Black, white, male, female. I didn't know anything, and I just watched the movie, and in some way it was super beautiful. And I could have guessed this was you from your voice. I just found the balance of the things you did that you had. This wasn't. There's a kind of you understand that it isn't experimentation. That then when I saw the breadth of your experience with music. And then the comedy, it's all there with such lean muscles. It was just so striking to me because I felt I was seeing a new tone. And I tweeted this. I don't know if you saw my tweet. I tweeted about when I saw Boys in the Hood. And I told John Singleton this. I was like, it was like same thing when I saw Pulp Fiction. And this is just a new, angle on the exact same stories we've always heard, but I've never seen them like this. And so with regard to performances, by the way, that was one of the things that I was so taken by, was your ability to get such beautiful performances.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I'm really sensitive to because, there has been a stigma against video directors. And so, it's definitely something I work on and definitely have a way to go. I'm growing in that, but I really concentrate on working with the actors, giving them what they need. I think everybody wants something different from a director, and being able to understand that and support them. Also basing my directorial choices in authenticity, I think really informed their performances in a really beautiful way. I fought to start in Cleveland and to go south, and I really wanted to start off in a cold space where it was blue and tonally like they were separated, and it was just cold, And we shot primarily in New Orleans, and production-wise, obviously nobody wanted to move, and I wanted it to feel like a real road journey, and I wanted the actors to know that. And so I fought to push to shoot in Cleveland, and we did. And we shot our first week in a polar vortex, which was last year, in like minus 15-degree weather. It was our first week of shooting. When he's pulled over by the cops and he's like, "It's just cold." It really is just cold. His hands are getting stuck to the car, as he's being pat down, and he wanted to experience that. I remember saying, like, "Should I heat this up for you?" And he's like, "No, I need to be uncomfortable in this moment." And then, it was such satisfaction in knowing I had made the right choice for the actors, and then also shooting all the car stuff on the road. Like I wanted them to feel the cement running under them and really be in that space and not be on a stage with like rear projection and all the ways that you can shoot, cars now. Like I really challenged us to shoot in all real locations so that as this landscape is moving, it would inform their love story and how they look and interact and how they get to know each other.
Wow, amazing. It made me think of On the Waterfront when you were talking about that, and Kazan talking about what the temperatures did to them and all of that beauty, and it made it raw. And yet, I don't think of the movie as raw. I think of it as very beautiful. And so you went all the locations, and yet you got all the benefit of that, but then you still had the kind of formality of cinema that I love so much. And
I love to find the beauty in rawness and in grittiness, and especially in darkness and dark sides of people's lives, that I think can be really beautiful. Like, and also just culture, like Black culture. I wanted it to feel like a meditation on the Black experience, and for you to understand that landscape and their experiences they're traveling through the South.
I thought your casting was fantastic, just fantastic. I assume that's your instincts, and who did you work with as a casting director?
We had this amazing, I don't know how I'll ever do a project without her, amazing casting director, Carmen Cuba. Do you know her? She's phenomenal. And she just has really interesting choices, as, I feel like I do as well, and we're a really great match, and we bounce ideas off of each other really well. Daniel was somebody who had talked to Lena before I was attached to the script, and she knew that she wanted that to be my choice, so she hadn't promised it to him. And when I decided to do it, she was like, can you meet Daniel? And I wasn't really into him. Because all I knew of him was Get Out. And it's just a testament to how amazing his talent is that I believed he was that man, and that man is not who Slim is. And we met, and what should have been like, a 2-second conversation turned into a 5-hour-long conversation, and hopefully a lifelong friendship, working relationship. But he just had this rawness and this vulnerability and this masculinity, and also really related. He had his own experience with police brutality. It was really important for him to play this role. And so I offered him the role at the meeting, and I remember calling Lena, like, hope you still like him, because he's it. And so we had Daniel, and then we needed to find our queen, and both Lena and I really wanted to use this as an opportunity to give a platform to a new Black actress. Like, we don't get those opportunities often, and we knew what we had, and so we really wanted to introduce a new actress and a new voice. And it was challenging because we had Daniel, who has this incredible experience and is obviously trained in a very different way, and we wanted a real newcomer. And Carmen, in our first, round of audition tapes, she gave us Queen. I mean, she gave us Jodie, and I knew Jodie was Queen upon the first tape. Nobody had the same like stature as her and confidence and hard facade that I felt like Queen needed at the beginning, but then also had this beautiful vulnerability that she could be open at the end. And I knew in that first tape, I had worked with her actually in a video and commercial like 5 years before that, but she was concentrating on modeling, but she had been working on her craft and obviously really delivered. And we tested them together. We tested probably her and 2 other actresses against Daniel. And she made him blush upon their first meeting, and he kind of shrank, I think, under her regalness. And that's what we needed, right? We needed somebody who would support and elevate and empower him as well as he did her, and that he couldn't overpower, because when she walks into that diner at the beginning, she's disappointed, right? And who's going to be disappointed to find Daniel Kaluuya sitting at a table, right? So you needed someone that had that confidence and that beauty and could have that like kind of cold exterior at the start, and then who could also open up and be a really loving and supportive partner by the end.
Wow, and in some of the smaller parts, that whole area with Bokeem Woodbine, he was in a movie I produced, and I love him. We've spent some time together. He's a hoot, and
I knew it was Bokeem. He did this film called Jason's Lyric when I was younger, and I knew his character in Jason's Lyric grew up to be Uncle Earl. So there was nobody else for me, and we got a couple people like submitting. A couple, Black actors really wanted to play Uncle Earl, and I couldn't see anybody else.
He
brought
it.
Something to that role. I mean, his accent and his humor and
hilarious and so tender
so layered.
too.
Yeah, absolutely. He's really layered, and obviously he has his demons, but then he's so loving, and then he's also like really protective of himself and of the women around him, and it's a different lifestyle he's living. But I think you have real love for Uncle Earl.
That area of the film, I just could have watched that forever. That and is India Moore?
India Moore plays Goddess, who's tremendous. She's a trans actress, but we never say which one she is because that's not what matters here. But she's in Pose. She's phenomenal, and I think also brings a really loving relationship that's different to the screen. And then also her interaction with Queen, who's probably judging her at the beginning of that scene, but then really opens up and learns from this woman. Like I always say, it's kind of like an odyssey, and that they take different things from these characters, and she's able to like learn about, how to be vulnerable to a partner, how to open up, how to be loving in a more traditional sense, and also how to claim her sexuality as a woman.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I thought it was, very sensual, and it was connected to the music in some way. The music had that sensuality to it. I guess it's also something I'm very jealous about because I have no sexuality in my movies because I keep thinking my mom's gonna watch them and being Indian.
Yeah, my mom didn't like that scene.
Yeah, immigrant Indian. I can't do that. I can't like that. Every time I write something with sexuality, I'm like, and then I'm like, no, I can't. So I'm very envious of you that you get to play with that. I was just touched by all of it. There's a sense of I want to go to questions from you guys, but I have this theory about cinema and my movies about it being accretion. It's an accretion of experience, and you're from the diner to those scenes with Uncle Earl you just kept accumulating, and even the interesting way you chose was it the couple. Both the casting choice.
Shepherds.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Chloe Sevigny and Flea.
Yeah, what a great combo. Just always keeping me off kilter in just the right way. And then for me, the conclusion, that accretion came to the head at the end because I was having, in a good way, fighting the movie, going, don't get out of the car, don't do that, don't jump on the horse, don't do this, don't stop for a dance, are you crazy? And I kept having that, fighting it from our being inured to plot, driving, and yet their hesitations to go to stop and just look is the point of the movie.
That is the plot.
Yeah, that is the plot. So, and as that started to accrete on me, I was going, don't do that. don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, no, go ahead and do that. And I started to let go.
Take a puff of that blunt.
Yeah. And I'm like, because it still felt authentic because part of them are thinking they're not going to make it, legitimately not going to make it. And what a poetic end for me, just beautiful. So, an amazing job of this theory of accretion.
Thank you.
So, any questions that you guys have? And
you said to Asada?
Yeah, so let
Absolutely.
me repeat that. So they wanted me to read it. So he asked if there's any backstory to the reference to a book named Asada, right?
Yeah, Asada was, she was a Black Panther, and then she was part of the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement. And she was imprisoned for supposedly killing police in Jersey. And she was convicted, although they tried to get her on many other charges that she was acquitted of, and was given I don't know how long, but probably life sentence, where she escaped jail and now lives in Cuba as a protective fugitive. And she is one of the heroes of my life. I am very much affected by her as a Black woman, as a freedom fighter. I've met her when I was in college and in Cuba. It's a story I've always actually wanted to tell, and I'm also part Cuban. And so, I think she's a strong symbol of Black feminism to me and Lena. So Lena actually put her in the script, and we all kind of reveled in that reference. And also in them trying to escape to Cuba, I had obviously a connection to that because so many freedom fighters and political fugitives are protected there. And so we wanted them to kind of be one of them.
Wow, I mean, really, there's an ethics behind your creative choices that I think inspire you, and they transcend and stop being intellectual to me. I did not feel the movie was preachy at all, and I sometimes feel that.
Yeah, we wanted it to be complicated. We didn't want it to be black and white, and we wanted to show kind of all the grayness in between and all the, complications that racism in this country and in these institutions creates, and that it's not just a direct, these people are right and these people are wrong. And so that was really important. It's like the man who gives them up at the end was originally written as a white man that was kind of a cultural appropriator. And I was talking to my friend Bradford Young, who's an incredible DP, and he gave us a couple of notes on the script, and that was one of them, to make him Black. And Lena doesn't really like notes from anyone except me. And so, but I really like notes. I like critiques, and I like from trusted people that I think have good taste. And, I throw away most of them, but when I see something that I think really has power, I shared that with her. I thought there was a lot to that idea. And she agreed. And she came up with his character name is the Black man, but the man who gives them up at the end, and he's a real testament to being a victim of capitalism and choosing his own individual gains over the community, right? And not really being a brother in that moment. And then also being betrayed from one, Black person to the next, it hurts more. But you kind of understand it, and it's complicated. It's complicated.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that made it all so balanced and perfect for me. I wasn't thinking about this, but I remember when seeing him, it all just felt earned at the end and not simple in a beautiful way. So how important are those tiny, I always think it's like those, when you become fluent, my daughter's a filmmaker. She's actually at NYU Film School right now. I tried to get her to come. She wouldn't cut class. And I told her your job is to become fluent in the world and the language of those characters.
Yeah, I really treat each project, regardless if it's a video or not, like a thesis project, and then I delve into the history and the place and the people and the characters and what they feel like and taste like and look like. Maybe it's because I am a student in so many ways, and I love to continue to challenge myself, to educate myself about, and I'm just interested in people and culture. And I love authenticity and the celebration of that. And so I try to, base all my choices in what's real.
Super admirable. Keep questions. What was the process of getting the film financed, and what was the final budget?
We were lucky. Lena wrote the script. I agreed to do it. We had Daniel And we worked on it. We wanted to work on it. Well, I did until we felt like the script was strong enough to kind of shop around. And she won an Emmy for Thanksgiving, so I think that gave her a lot of bargaining power. A lot of people were interested in what my first film would be, which, was also a nice little bargaining power. And then we had Daniel, who has, I think an incredible amount of star power. And I think people are interested in seeing different stories. They don't want what's the same. And so they were open. We took it, we made a list of financiers, producers that we'd be interested in working with. And we met with a company called Make Ready, run by Brad Weston, who used to run Paramount, and Pam Abdi, who was at Jersey Films, and they had worked together. And this is maybe, I think, their second film as a company. And they were incredible supporters. Lena and I both had Final Cut. There were certain elements that I knew I wouldn't bend on in making the film, which is I wanted to shoot on film. And I wanted to travel through at least 3 states because it needed to, have that authentic feel of a road movie and a journey. And they agreed to that. Our budget, are you allowed to say that? I'm like, yeah, it's like public, right? Our budget is like 21 million in the end, 20 million. We're almost through all the contingency. I keep spending it somehow. And that's where we landed.
Then
So Make Ready has a distribution deal through Universal. So Universal distributes our film. And so I think it's a beautiful balance because we're kind of get to be an independent film, and then we also have the studio push and support at the same time. So it's a really wonderful, nuanced balance.
Yeah, well, I did my part backstage for you. As soon as I started, I called Universal and I was like, "You guys know what you have?" And they were like, "Yeah," and I was like, "No, do you know what you have?" I was like, "You better." And I'll say something at the end about what it means to me. But let me ask, any questions more? Anyone? There you go.
Thank you. That's important for me. I'm from the Bronx originally, grew up in Jersey as well. But I think that there's real culture and beauty in the hood. I'm always in somebody's hood around the world shooting. But when you take money out of it, I think people really have to relate to each other and appreciate each other and build on, what really matters in the world and not a bunch of superficial bullshit. So that's my appreciation.
I'm told to wrap it up, but I wanted to say a couple things. One, I wanted to say we just met outside for the first time, and
I've known you for a long time.
I just wanted to say, look, you're beginning this kind of this architecture of your storytelling career, and whatever happens from here out, from here for this film, this kind of it's don't think of it as an endpoint at all, and it can get stifling and free. Should the next one be like this, against this, rebelling from it, going towards it? All of that stuff really. And you already seem like you have this balance, but every one of us can get pulled and taken to the place that makes us forget what's important and where our voice actually is. So just figure out your next story. And it's fantastic that everyone, including myself, loves it as much as we do. It's not a fixed mentality on you. And
thank you so much.
And for me, supporting, I came here and flew here to be here to make sure that this becomes gigantic, because when new voices and original cinema works in the movie theaters, that works for all of us. So you're breaking down doors for all of us.
I believe that very much so, and I appreciate it so much.
This was so much fun. Thank you
really
so much.
Thank you.
And thank you guys.
Thank you,
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. If you'd like to hear more, you can find past episodes of The Director's Cut wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay tuned in the coming weeks for more great Q&As with directors Todd Haynes and Jay Roach. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow cinephiles find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Wally.